Okay, so thank you very much. And wow, it's great to be back here in Utrecht. I was here last year. Now I'm here again. And before I proceed, I just want to share my joy because my mom and dad and brother are here in Utrecht. It's my parents' first time here in Europe. So can I ask Chile Utrecht to give them a warm welcome? They're there. Okay, so because it's so cold here in Utrecht, let me bring you first to tropical Southeast Asia. And this is the map of our region, as you can see. And in this map, the redder the country is, the higher the vulnerability of the country is to the climate crisis. And unfortunately, my home country, the Philippines, comprised of 7,000 islands, is the reddest of them all. And it just shows that the Philippines is at the heart of the climate crisis, and we need to address climate change because we need to protect the lives of the people living in these islands. 2 weeks ago, in fact, we in the Philippines commemorated the 10th year anniversary of Typhoon Haiyan, which up to today is still the strongest typhoon to ever hit land in human history. That happened in 2013. Nearly 7,000 lives were claimed. Hundreds of thousands of people had to be forcibly displaced, and it affected millions more. And we know that when these extreme events, such as typhoons and flooding, do occur, it's not only our houses that are being destroyed, infrastructure, electricity grids, but also health systems, hospitals, health facilities, and ultimately, the health of our communities, of the people, are being jeopardized. But it's not only the typhoons and the flooding that we are now experiencing in the Philippines. We are facing some of the fastest rates of sea level rise in the world. This year, we have experienced unprecedented high heat indices, never experienced by the Filipino people in modern times. And there are also studies showing that climate change in itself can drive the next pandemic. Unfortunately, the Philippines is in tropical Southeast Asia, which is an infectious disease hotspot. There's a very high chance that another zoonotic spillover event, a virus jumping from an animal to a human being, happening in the rainforests of our country. And worse, we've heard a while ago from our expert from the IPCC, but scientists are now saying we don't have until 2030 in order to achieve the goals of the Paris Agreement. We wanted to keep the global average temperature increase below 1.5 degrees Celsius by 2030. The scientists are saying we only have until 2027. In a few weeks' time, it's already 2024. It means we only have 4 years remaining to meet our goals and to stabilize the global climate system. And so, unfortunately, the medical community today continues to operate as if the global climate system is doing okay. In fact, during the past 3 years, while we're trying to, contain and grapple with COVID-19, we even added new forms of pollution. We have PPEs, personal protective equipment, now floating in our rivers, lakes, and seas. And of course, we've used a lot of energy, plastic for our global vaccine campaigns. We've really ignored the health of the planet while we're trying to address and protect the health of the human civilization. And so now the question that we should be asking ourselves is, are we ready to build health systems that consider the climate? Are we ready to produce the next generation of health professionals who care not just for the health of people, but also for the health of the planet? And are we ready as a global health sector to reorient towards new values, not just of equity, but also environmental sustainability, even intergenerational responsibility, making sure that we don't leave behind a planet in mess to the future children of the world? And so I think the concept of planetary health, and I really laud the organizers of this conference for putting planetary health in the title of ECME 2023. I think planetary health is the new compass, the new paradigm, the new vision that we need in order to safeguard the health of people and the health of the planet. I always tell my medical students at St. Luke's in the Philippines, we now have two patients, not just the people, but also the planet. And I'm reminded of what a climate and health pioneer, Australian epidemiologist Anthony McMichael, once wrote in the 1990s. The health sector must lift its gaze to bigger ecological horizons. This will require a radical extension of the public health agenda. And I think that that radical extension that he was referring to in the 1990s is now what we call planetary health. And if you just go down to the last line, it encourages us, or he encourages us, to develop an ability to collaborate with unfamiliar disciplines such as climatology and ecology. And so in St. Luke's, I also remind my medical students that by the end of their medical education, by the time they graduate, they should have at least 5 friends who are not fellow physicians. They should have a friend who is an economist, an ecologist, maybe even a theologian, because a lot of the problems that we're facing in planetary health are deeply moral and ethical in nature. And so how do we advance this new radical extension called planetary health? Just recently, I was in a conference in Berlin at the World Health Summit. They are now talking about establishing what they are tentatively calling a One Sustainable Health Institute. You know, it can also be called a Planetary Health Institute. And I said in a room filled with Europeans, plus myself, that the future institute should have these 3 critical ingredients. First, it should draw from the wisdom and experience of the Global South. Second, it should harness the power and potential of communities. And third and last but not the least, it should maximize the energy and entrepreneurship of youth. And that, thank you. And that is what we are trying to do now in the Philippines. In 2020, when I returned to the Philippines after my doctoral studies in the United States, I had the privilege of establishing the first planetary health program, not only in our country, but in Southeast Asia at the St. Luke's Medical Center. In fact, some of my teammates are here in front. Maybe you can wave your hands. Please talk to them. They're amazing people. And just within 3 years since our inception, we were awarded the inaugural Planetary Health Innovation Prize by the Consortium of Universities for Global Health in DC early this year. And so what are we doing to advance planetary health in our country and in our region? These are just some photos of the different activities that we're doing. We're engaging meaningfully with the communities. The communities are not our guinea pigs. They are our real partners in the co-production of planetary health. We are bringing people together from different sectors and disciplines. And in fact, we established a national network called Planetary Health Philippines, bringing together people from different disciplines, sectors, backgrounds. We're intersectoral, we're interdisciplinary, we're intergenerational, we're even international because we have Alay Llamas, who is from UMC Utrecht, who's also part of our family. And then part of this agenda is to really challenge that notion that knowledge only comes from north to the south. It's time for the North to learn from the South. In fact, maybe the North and South should be learning together from each other. And I'm very proud that St. Luke's has been a very reliable and strong partner of UMC Utrecht. We have Joyce Brown here. I think George Downward is also in the room. We've been working together to advance planetary health, bridging Asia and Europe. And just recently, we finished a virtual classroom where Filipino students and Dutch students and students from Suriname and Ghana and Australia and many other parts of the world learn about planetary health together, despite the huge time zone differences. And thank you. And now there's a lot of talk about decolonizing global health. I think we need to make sure planetary health does not reproduce the inequalities that global health continues to perpetuate until today. And we need to go beyond the cosmetic. It's not just about having an Asian or an African-sounding name in the byline of the research article. It requires respectful and real and meaningful engagement. We need to tackle the asymmetries of power that characterize our field and our sector. And as you can see in this diagram, all the forms of colonialism are connected. Human supremacy over nature, white supremacy over other people, male supremacy over women and other gender identities. All of these need to be combated together. I think planetary health is also about planetary humility. It invites us to shift away from this ego-logical perspective. Oh, we human beings are at the top of the pyramid of nature. We can continue extracting, mining, killing, contaminating, polluting, consuming, and producing. And instead, it invites us to shift towards a truly ecological perspective where we human beings are living in harmony, in greater solidarity with all creatures great and small, and all the other components of planet Earth are one and only home. I will be remiss not to touch on what's happening now in the Middle East. And I think planetary health is not anti-Semitic, planetary health is not Islamophobic, planetary health is a pro-planet and pro-humanity compass towards lasting peace. We should embrace that. We should advance this cause. We should work together to make sure that planetary health is not just an agent of environmental sustainability and equity, but again, for lasting peace everywhere in the world. And finally, I think planetary health reminds us or invites us to become good ancestors. What we want is that in 2123, the children of 2123 will read the history books, will look back to the past, and they will say that the COVID and climate and conflict generation of 2023, which is all of us here in Utrecht, were good ancestors to them because we made the right decisions, not just only for ourselves, but also for them, for their health and well-being as well. Are we ready to be good ancestors? Not to be selfish ancestors to these children and to the future children of the Netherlands, of Europe, of the Philippines, and the world entire who are yet to be born and who are yet to come? So together, let's advance the health of both people and the planet. Thank you very much.